Nastavljamo sa izlaganjima i ovim putem najavljujem gospodina Zoltána Ero, glavnog arhitekta grada Budimpešte, da nam pokaže svoju prezentaciju.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear hosts, thank you for inviting us to this very interesting conference, and I think that already up to now we have learned a lot. I try to summarize the possibilities and the results of the Budapest development, namely on the brownfield areas. And I think that we shall have a bunch of experiences at the end. I don't know that I don't promise that we shall give answers to all questions, but perhaps we can be even more clever. As a matter of fact, the city has always developed brownfield areas. On the picture, you can see the same site, 30 or 40 years, the difference, because the first was made at the turn of the century, and the second is at 1938-40, when a completely new residential area, the most prestigious residential area, was developed at that site. When we really found brownfields, this is the 1990 turn of the political system. At that moment, in Budapest, we had already the abandoned railway areas, the rundown fabrics and workshops, the empty barrack areas, and we had all the problem of this situation. Of course, on a spontaneous way, simply using the forces of the spaces and the energy of the city, a lot of brownfield areas started to revitalize and remodel themselves. And of course, just as you already told us, what are the advantages of the brownfields? They can balance the urban structure. They are basic element of the compact city, offer a new place for new functions, and we sometimes forget that they offer a large space for green areas as well. And it has the opportunity to clean up our thoughts, to clean up our legal background around certain points of the city. Early successes, they began at the Váci Street area. Váci Street is a road going to the north from the city center, and as a matter of fact, they had a lot of factories on the road, but the factories had no well-maintained public transport, so the new metro line number 3 was constructed just at that time, at the end of the 80s, early 90s. And it came out that we had the new metro line. There were no workers. Factories ran down. And the metro line has given the possibility to be a very good office corridor. We call it the Budapest Office Corridor. And these years has brought complete changes for that. Another early success is, as you see on the sign, that it is in central Buda. Buda is the most prestigious part of the city, and namely this inner part. So it was normal that factories couldn't stay anymore. It is an optical instruments factory which became reused on that place very early. So at the end of the 90s, we had already a shopping mall and a residential area in this place. Another early success was another Buddha site. The Guns Electric factory was privatized, but at that time the privatization went on a certain way where the state has taken back the site, the land, and privatized only the company itself. And on the land, the state made a very important project that was the first urban government in 1998 that they demolished the unnecessary buildings. They have kept, they have kept the characteristic industrial buildings. They have constructed cultural venues and programs, dance theater and exhibition halls, etc., etc. And finally, in the second phase, they have concretized a huge city park, which is in this prestigious area is a very large gain for the city in this beautiful place. Another successes, even if we don't call it an architectural success, but our new National Theatre or other cultural events are on former industrial areas, brownfield areas. And I have to tell that I am very happy when we have brownfield renewal for industrial purposes. So it is a pharmaceutical company called Richter, which has its headquarters and R&D center on its former site, or it is Bosch, which constructed a new R&D center. It is not a factory, it is a development center full with highly financed programs and a lot of important engineers and developers. Later successes. We have quite a huge area full of engineers and software developers. It is called Graphisoft Park. Originally, that has been the largest gas factory in the region. Built in 1913, it was really a very important and at that time a very modern factory. Of course, we don't use any more gas like this. We use natural gas, so it became empty and it became unnecessary. And what happened that step by step, the company Graphisoft, perhaps architects know it from the Archicad program that was developed here. And later on, the company itself became a real estate developer, and they have produced a beautiful park full of this kind of buildings, constructed by different Hungarian architects on a high quality, and they have made from the gas factory a well-maintained and well-developed park with this, we can call a science park. The story ended at that point because the problem of pollution in the soil could be handled only on the 80% of the area, but on the 20% we have got a very heavy and very expensive pollution. And up to the moment, the state, it belongs to, the land belongs to us, to the capital city of Budapest, but the pollution belongs to the state. And we wait and we have court decisions that they have to make it. The problem is that it is already endangers the Danube because these black, I don't know what, is going down to the water. So this is one of the greatest issues that I want to underline, that it can be a very strong obstacle for development of this size. Another success which is under construction, it is Buses. It was a factory for creating alcohol and on a synthetic way, and it was a long time ago here, but you see that it is a beautiful waterfront site. On the other side of the Danube branch, there is an island full of wood, and it became one of the most successful developments. It is already in that condition. Of course, it is a picture only, but these are the present situation. That's what I tried to explain yesterday, that even if we like it, and it is another place on the south of the Danube, this is the oil company's tower, the highest building in Budapest or in Hungary, 140. The question is who lives here and who can afford a flat in that building on the top. I have to tell you that it is not the chief architect and his family. So we don't understand at the moment that these high quality, called luxury flats, can fill all the brownfield areas, or what will happen on that issue. Can we make cheaper or simpler flats as well? Another project which is under construction, it is at that bay, once again a Danube waterfront site. It is the former ship and crane factory. Perhaps you know that even in Rijeka we had huge guns, cranes earlier. And what happens here, that once again in 1990 the site was separated from the company. The company went bankrupt. The site has went on different hands, and now they are constructing the first buildings. And it is quite a typical answer at the moment for the development in Budapest. A building on the ground floor, 100% garage. We have the highest possible building here. It is 65 meters, so it is nearly 20-story high. And of course, the developer wanted to construct all along this line with these buildings. Together with them, we tried to make a kind of composition that let's have a higher block at the beginning, lower blocks at the middle, once again a higher. So the architectural or urban composition is already a question of negotiations and intentions. I have to tell you that the chief architects cannot manage too much. If they want to fill up the possible heights, they will fill up. So if they want to have this kind of architecture, there is no mood to control them. of course, I try to control it on a personal way, and we discuss and we speak about possible solutions, but it is only an intention and not an obligation. What they spend money is important because they spend money for this dam system. So it is a missing part of the inundation dam, and they will construct this on private money, but we asked to keep it public. But anyhow, it is not an idea that we have heard about Barcelona, that you have to keep this or that percent on affordable housing. We try to use these elements, but not in that percentage and not in that complexity that we have heard before. Another future success, it is a chocolate factory in the 9th district, and the chocolate factory will be developed in the backyard where there are no important or no valuable buildings. They construct a residential program, and in the front they will construct an office program. It is an Ukrainian investor, and it seems that they understood the requirements, and they agreed to deal with this listed building. The problem that from this listed, and that will be beautiful, but from this listed building, we shall see one of the worst failures in Budapest, that one. This is the Slaughter House, a large, we call it public slaughter house. And as far as we have heard that we can have beautiful projects on these areas, we are always sad because this is a Turkish investor arrived here. Nothing was kept what we wanted to keep from the architectural heritage, and they constructed this. I don't know why is it better, or it is not better than the socialist era living estates. This is another discussion, but we can continue on with that. But this is a failure. I want to show you a multifaceted problem area, the Kőbányai Road. The Kőbányai Road has in itself 4 different areas I want to show you. It is not on the Danube bank. It is not on the Danube bank. It is not on the prestigious areas. It is at a very rundown and very problematic area in Kőbánya. Just to understand, I have this picture. This is a former railway station, the so-called Józsefváros railway station. This is a huge factory, the so-called Ganzmávag, and here we have workshops. But this is an outskirt of Budapest. It is not nice to walk there, and it needs it is just the good example for those brownfields that should be urbanized because they are in a good position, close to the city center. They are on areas with public transport. They are on areas with public utilities. So one should do something with this, but it is not so simple. To show on this map from 1877, I want to show you that here is the railway station. Here there are the first factories for railway cars and engines. Here the number 3 is the workshop for the railway, state railways, and the 4 is a place for a large park. Once again, you can see here the very first railway, the second railway, and it somehow developed to a network, and the area became a kind of railway industry cluster. The old station now a museum for, as a Jewish memorial center, House of Faith, which is correct, which has got a correct renovation, but unfortunately the exhibition is not open at the moment because it is not finished. On the site of the station, there were quite good proposals to have an urbanized area. So this was made by a state agency, Budimpešta Development Agency, where they proposed a series of offices, residential area. And the problem was that on this area, they had to accept a football academy. The football academy is something, a very important thing in Hungary for the political reasons, but the football academy is not a real urban challenge. You know, the problem is that it looks green, but in reality this is plastic. And we absolutely don't like to have this kind of use because it is once again a monofunction for a large area. So that was the proposal for this residential area, but unfortunately it is not begun. I want to show you the Mávag and Ganz factory stories. At the Kőbányai Road, we have these two factories very densely built, and once very proud and very famous products for the world. Mávag was for engines, Ganz was for carriages and electrical things, and they were united in 1959. Even you can know these trains, that was for Yugoslavia, and something else was for Yugoslavia as well. So we were present in the world, but at 2000, it was so run down that only those heavy machines which couldn't be taken out, or it would be too expensive to take out, they made some production, they made some real values, but the area is in that situation. And it became the largest Chinese, Vietnamese, Turkish market of Central Europe. You can buy everything, you can buy a lot of everything, so the prices are defined at 1, 2, and a lot. And you can see this quite interesting picture that you have these vans for transit or something like this with no signage. So it is not written that this or that company, white van with brown boxes. You don't know what is in the brown boxes because there is no sign of that. And this works now for a decade. The huge halls are installed with containers, and we don't know how many people live there because it is much more than a shop. We cannot do anything with that because there are 240 owners of the area. So the plot was somehow sold to different private and Chinese private persons, and you cannot handle this system, neither on the municipal level, neither on the state authorities level. So I'm afraid that we cannot call it a successful area in the future. But now I have the northern version, the number 3 area, And I have given these pictures to Nikša because they were speaking about the Zagreb workshop, which is, of course, it is a typical building. So it is quite similar. It was used for steam engines, but later when the electric engines were introduced, they used for that. And the so-called Eiffel Hall is this one. It is important. There was a theory that the Eiffel office has designed this, but it was not the Eiffel office, but somebody called János Feketeházy who worked in the Eiffel office earlier. It is a 19th century workshop, and it became used for the Hungarian state opera because they needed a new auditorium as well for some experimental musical performances. But they have their workshop, the costume workshop, the carpentry, etc., which is necessary. And we think that it was a very good idea because this cultural function brought a new urban approach to the Kőbányai Street. What we wanted to extend later, just to the neighboring area, the so-called Diesel Hall. The Diesel Hall was constructed in 1962. Of course, the name explains what happened, that instead of steam engines, we had diesel engines, so we had to make a new workshop hall for that. And here there is the Eiffel Hall. And there was a decision that from the Diesel Hall, we are going to construct a new transport museum because the old transport museum in the city park was quite small, and it offered the place absolutely in a cultural context for this new function. And it was a nice challenge, an interesting challenge, because we have seen so many 19th century riveted iron structures used for adaptive reuse ideas. But what to do with a reinforced concrete structure? And you can see that it is very popular, even it is in its temporary use. People are queuing up a lot just to enter and to look at these objects. But the process went on, and we have got an important international competition won by dealers Cofidio and Retro, who has made, after the competition, a complete plan and design for the future. We would be very happy to have this. At the very moment, there are some conflicts with the Ministry of Transport and with those guys who have made this. But as a partial success, I am very proud of that because it would be a good idea to develop. The fourth area is People's Park. Once again, we had a competition. It was not international, it was Hungarian. Of course, every competition is international, but it was mainly for Hungarian landscape architects. And we had a lot of new ideas what to do with a historic park like this. And we hope that it can be step by step started from now on, because this area it needs the refreshing and the new ideas. There are the so-called stalled areas where we have already made a lot of steps ahead, but they are stopped. we like very much the student city on the south on the Pest side. It is a nice site because this Danube branch is controlled by closures, and this is a stable water level area, and on that side with the student city, which would be generally dormitories and cultural and sport facilities, could be quite a nice area. As a matter of fact, the competition was won by Snoetta, which is a Norwegian-Austrian company, but of course they worked with my Hungarian colleagues, and we were quite happy with this. At the moment, we have a nice challenge about Rákosrendező marshalling yard. Rákosrendező is a railway area on that point, quite a long piece of land. And I will tell you a few stories about this because the whole story explains a little bit the political background of the large-scale developments in Hungary, and you will find your own situation in this story. As a matter of fact, this area was abandoned in the 90s, and it was standing alone, but once again, the story is that the Hungarian State Railway uses only these tracks, while these are empty, and even on this area they have already taken the rails and the materials. What to do with this? Because it is at a very good position, close to the city park, close to the city center, and it is no reason to keep like this. And the story was that after years of sleeping like in that form, 2 years ago the Hungarian state became with the idea that they have found a developer in the Emirates, and this developer will arrive and will make here a fantastic area that he has already made in Belgrade. And the next news were that he will bring a 230 meter high building. It is the blue one. And even later it came that no, it will be the highest building of Europe. In Europe, the European Union, in Warsaw, there is a 320 meter high building, so they have promised this one. But later on it came out that it will be even higher. It will be the higher. St. Petersburg is in Europe, not in the EU, but they have a 400 meter high tower. So we shall get a complex of 400 meter high towers. The problem is that we didn't want to have this. It is or UNESCO World Heritage Site, Andrássy út, the most beautiful boulevard, and Hero Square with this monument. And this model shows how it would appear at that point. We didn't want to get it, but as you know, we are not in a very good contact with our central government. We haven't got any correct answers. I personally meet a lot of times the minister or the deputy minister responsible for this, and I asked, what will happen? Can we see the projects? There are no projects. but it will be good. And for a while, it was running like this, and at the beginning of this year, we have got the ideas that the prototype is over there in Belgrade, or Lord Mayor went down to Belgrade and sent these pictures. This picture is made by the artificial intelligence because we have got already the agreement between the Hungarian government and the developer. There was an agreement. And in the agreement, it was promised that there will be place for house of faith. It means that kind of church. But if it is somebody from the Emirates, then it can be a mosque like this. There will be even higher, at least 500 meters high tower, so we didn't know where will it be finished. There will be some developments of trains and railway infrastructure. But at the same time, we have made a counter movement, and we began to speak about the possibilities and about the necessities of a new, we call it park city or park district. And just on February the 7th, we have got a meeting, and it came out that on this whole area, and let me go back to pictures, somewhere here there is a duct for the city heating system. Not a big one, a duct like this, and it goes for 2 kilometers on the plot. And it came out that we have a possibility to, right of preemption. That's what I wanted to find. We have the possibility of preemption for the land because of this tube. And the story at that situation is that we can have the contract on the same conditions that it was offered for the Emirates. And it came out that these were so favorable options, cheap price, a lot of promise for state developments. This is part of the promise, a new railway station with connection with the tram system of the surrounding area. And at the moment, we are in the position that we have asked for this preemption possibility. We have got it, and we have got it on the same conditions, so the state should construct these things and to give it to Budapest because it was promised for the Emirates. Anyhow, what is interesting for you at the moment, that we are going to make the livable city competition, which is not only for that area, but a lot of the surrounding area. And of course, it is not the solution of the competition, but it is the first sketch of how we are thinking about the possibilities and what are the real areas. That will be open in July. So if you feel that you want to participate, it will be a two-turn competition. In the first turn, you have to prove that you have references, you have economic background to make the project, and professional background. And the second one is somewhere later in the autumn when we shall collect the projects. Just as I am going to finish my presentation, I want to summarize a little bit these stories. What we have learned from the sites that were made up to now. It is very positive that they were pioneering the problems. It is very positive that they already formed new poles, new subcenters, and that worked. And it was just on the private way, not controlled by the city, but not too much investments in it. We have innovative experiments. They are energy conscious, so those estates that are constructed now, they are absolutely nearly energy positive areas. Negative is the skimming. The skimming, I mean that the best places are already chosen and constructed. What about the worst places? So they will stay behind. A kind of segregation of the top market segment means that rich people with expensive flats and expensive services are going to get into these areas, and it will make a kind of segmentation, a kind of segregation, which is not good, even if it is on the top. Incomplete social infrastructure. Nobody constructs kindergarten, nobody constructs schools, nobody constructs doctors' offices, which is later a problematic way. Lack of green spaces, nobody constructs public green areas. Another evaluation or summary is that high prestige, easily approachable sites go first. You understand why, and it is we cannot do too much with this up to the moment while we are not in the process. Ownership, one owner is the best. So the 240 owners cannot be handled. And I don't know any good method for that. So as far as possible, don't let the sites cut into plots. First, you have to make a plan, just as we have seen in Barcelona, that even the public areas are kept in one hand and the plots are coming only after definitions. Pollution, contamination of chemical materials, but we have another problem that in 44, 45, the Allies have bombed the Budapest railway system. And if now we are speaking about the renewal of railway areas, we find everywhere the not exploded bombs, and it is a high cost and a lot of time to go, but it is a considerable risk. You have to do this. You have to find those architectural and technical values which should be kept on the area, because it is not only identity, but it is a kind of riches if you have historic buildings on this area. And we have, of course, the question of leadership, who manages what, who manages the project, and I am very much interested about this question because we don't know always the best solution. And the time scale, which yesterday we were spoken with your mayor that politicians doesn't like too much the time scale, but it was already written there. So it needs the way of future thinking and to accept that it is a long-term process. I think that was the general overview of Budapest brownfield areas. thank you for your attention, and if you have questions, of course, that's why I am here.
Thank you, Zoltán, for an interesting lecture. Sada bi otvorila vrijeme za par pitanja prije ručka. Evo, po jedno molim, ako imate više, da ostavimo za panel na kraju.
Zoltán, thank you. Thank you on this very, very detailed and valuable insight on the Budapest experience, I'd call it. I took quite a few notes as well, just like in Xavi's presentation. I would like to focus on the issue of competition, of public competitions for, well, I would like to concentrate on Buda Park, which became Graphisoft Park, right? And you said that some of the most famous architects designed the buildings in the Graphisoft Park. Was it through competition?
Buda Park is on the south. Graphisoft Park is on the
I see. Mm-hmm.
It's not the same, but the Graphisoft Park was. Thank you. Graphisoft Park was and is a private development, but the story is that those private developers are very educated and intelligent and
rare ones.
With a good taste. So from as far as they were responsible for architectural programs, ArchiCAD, they knew all the best architects in Budapest, and because they have served their programs, and they have picked, handpicked the best guys, and from one building was ready. It has given a character with this brick, red brick, modern language. The next one was following that, but added something new, and the landscape architect was chosen very carefully, and it went on a very good way, without too much problems. Of course, the district council agreed. Of course, the Budapest council agreed with the general scope and the general ideas, but it depended very much on the taste of the owner.
Okay, thank you. And for the Northern workshop, you mentioned you've shown the works of Dilersko Video and Snoheta. So they were commissioned through competitions, right?
Yes.
Through public competitions.
Yes.
Was it an invited competition as well?
So just as I tried to tell you that now we are going to make a competition, there were first round. 12 companies were chosen.
I see. 12 companies were invited for the second round. They have even got compensation for their work. So it was not for this 12 company, but it was secret. It was juried for long time, so I've been part of these juries, and it was really fantastic because they have got a lot of new impressions, and so these were practically professional discussions and no politics. That was happy, and at the end, Dilersko Video has got the commission and they have finished the project. If we throw it away, or if we burn it in a stove, then it is our problem. So it was only an invited competition, if I understood correctly. Was it an open one as well? The first round is open. I see. And then the first round is open, and the second round is invited for those who are chosen. It has some advantages. Okay, it has the advantage that it is the great work with the design. It is not the burden of 100 offices. It is the burden of only 12. But the first round, when they want to be present and they have a letter of intent and they have a nomination for the
I see. And then the 12 get selected, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. One question about decision making. So the levels of decision making when deciding on the development, you mentioned there is quite high intervention from the state in several projects. And that I would like to ask you, how does it reflect what we saw, I think, in a negative way when the state declares something of a strategic interest and goes behind the city decisions of planning and developing. And do you have on the lower level below the city, let's say, collaboration with civic initiatives like cooperatives and associations? For instance, I know in Golja, in Gant, Mavag, Brownfield that you mentioned, the initiative of Acred, where there is a community development of the site. And it seems as a good example of how, let's say, bottom-up initiatives can start kind of using and transforming the space little by little.
For the first part of your question, unfortunately, the state has a very bad practice about the so-called exemption decrees. There is a well-built-up system of having the capital city for the structural plan, the district municipalities for the detailed plans. They are coordinated, they go through 32 authorities, they have stamps on all sides of the papers, and we went through these processes, and then from one day to the other, but in the reality, you open in the morning the official newspaper of the Hungarian government, and you find a decree that this and that registration number area here and there is exempted from the municipality prescription. You don't need to keep the historic values. You can have another figures for the land use. You are not obliged to provide parking areas, etc., etc. And at the moment, there are more than 3,000 decrees like this in the country. So it is somehow gives a clue that there's no need for any kind of regulation if somebody can write it from one day to the other. But we do our work and we follow these things. But that's the reason how it can happen. The second part of your question about the Gansmavag area with the private initiation, I am happy that they went there, but I told them that it is the most complicated. So if you want to make a pilot project, that by my opinion, it is not necessary to begin with the 240 owners of this. But they are welcome and they follow that place. Where we have the 240 owners, a few years ago we asked the representative of the owners. There was an old, aged professional engineer, and we asked that Mr. Pop, is there any kind of pollution perhaps in the soil? And he answered that, dear Mr. you can find all the elements of the Mendeleev table in the ground, which is not sure, but it expresses that how to handle the problem if you have no access to the places.